All right, welcome in Sports Untapped, another episode here of the show. Stephen A. Norman, Mitchie Poppy on the program here tonight. Mitchell, feeling like a fall day out there today. Feeling like football season there today.
Yeah.
This is the football weather that I feel like is the last signal that it is officially almost football season here for us. And I figured here on the program we'll discuss Drake Maye as the Patriots have now wrapped up their second preseason game. They have their third and final one on Thursday night. And I want to discuss Drake Maye, the offense, really what we've seen from him throughout camp so far. Has he made enough progress? Where is he in this whole development with Josh McDaniels, with Mike Vrabel, with that offensive line? We'll incorporate all of that stuff. So I figure we'll hit on that here tonight. Before we get started, make sure to engage with the program. We are still new and we are still looking for that engagement. So you can like, subscribe, hit the bell icon that notifies you when new content drops, and you can leave a comment. We drop content on a fairly regular basis. Mitchell, we've been pretty good about that. Pretty good
hmm
about them.
I agree. We're still a young channel, still trying to get things going, and learning a lot about YouTube and the algorithm, how it works,
It
and all
is.
that
It's
fun stuff.
uh, it's definitely different for us coming from the radio side. I know that you have a more
hmm
background in the whole YouTube stuff, but
Yep.
it is definitely a learning curve here. All right, I want to start with really some of our reaction out of that second preseason game the other night, the other day, I should say, in Minnesota, which was what stood out to me the most, Mitchell. My lead takeaway coming out of preseason game number 2 in Minnesota was really the performance of Drake Maye in his two series out there, and really how we now have two preseason games in the book where Drake Maye has struggled at times, and I think that you look back in that turnover that he had against Washington, and then really the way that he started that game on Saturday. And I do wonder a little bit right now if Drake Maye is trigger shy and too afraid to make a mistake, because you look at really some of the windows that he had to throw into the other day, and Dan Orlovsky had a great breakdown of this. It seems like Drake Maye
hmm
is either slow to process things right now, or he's afraid to make a mistake. But either way, he does feel like he's playing tight to me. And you look at some of the throws that he made in that game. He had a ball that would have ended up in the first row of the stands if Mac Hollins wasn't 6'4". He had another ball again to Mac Hollins on the sideline where I felt like he was late in that read and had a couple of other opportunities to kind of cut it loose, to rip it, let it go, and just kind of play within the flow of the offense, manipulate defenders with his eyes. It feels like right now Drake Maye is, I don't want to say struggling to pick up the offense, because I don't know if it's one, the offense, or if it's two, Drake May just kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now and trying to play mistake free football, and at the same time not playing free and open and kind of letting the game come to him and let it rip. But what have you seen from Drake Maye throughout the course of the preseason training camp, the joint practices? Where do you feel like Maye is right now in that year two leap discussion that really I think so much of the season hinges on for the Patriots?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I just want to say, in this game, I got the stats right here. 4 of 7, 46 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns. He was out there for 2 drives, and with a total of 7 passing attempts. They really are. I don't want to say Josh is handling him with kid gloves. It's hard to decide at this point in time. Is it that, or is it just Josh doesn't want to show too much to teams right now? Is it just he's trying to get Drake May to come along slowly? It's hard to decide right now with the preseason. I mean, and a lot of this we won't. We'll see once we get to the first game of the season what it really is. Is it they're handling him with kid gloves, or they then don't want to show their whole hand? Um, but with Drake May, yeah, I think it's a lot of tightness. I got his stats from last year. Last year, 15 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He was sacked 34 times. It says here. and he threw for 2,276 yards with a 66.6 completion percentage. He also rushed for 421 yards and for 2 touchdowns, and the longest rush was 41 yards, but he also had 4 fumbles. So again, you look at the turnovers there, 10 interceptions, 4 fumbles. I think that's been a point of emphasis for Josh McDaniels in this Patriots coaching staff. They probably said, listen, those 10 interceptions, they probably broke them down one by one, saying, what was the read here? Why would you go with that? You need to read it like this. You need to see it like this. And the fumbles, depending on how they happened, if it's just him getting sacked in the back, they're going to talk about ball placement. Keep it to your chest. You wear the number 10. You want to keep it in between the 1 and the 0. That's where you want to hold the ball. Don't hold it like this. Don't hold it like that. If you're running, you got to run like this in case if you get strip sack from behind. That's how they're going to handle that situation. And right now, I think there's just so much that's being thrown at him. He came from the University of North Carolina, not known for quarterbacks, not a school that when you think of quarterback talent, who the last 2 quarterbacks come out of there, Sam Howell, who the Patriots just played against, and we saw him throw off his back foot, and also Mitch Trubisky, who is now backing up, if I remember correctly, Josh Allen in the Buffalo Bills. Not known for the quarterbacks. And now you have this guy here who has the potential to be better than both of those guys combined. But it's going to be a long and tedious road. I mean, we saw him last year do things that were great, but then there was also some decisions. The end of that Tennessee game, he threw it into double coverage. Long road ahead.
Yeah,
Long road
so
ahead.
I think if you want to be worried about it, the concerning factor is they haven't really started to scheme up, game plans yet. And yet, when Drake Maye comes out to start these games, he doesn't feel like he's, playing loose. And this is the time to make mistakes for Drake Maye, which is why, again, when you go back and you look at some of the throws and how he's kind of late on his progressions with some of them, that sticks out to me as a
Yes.
guy that's overthinking, that maybe has a little too much on his mind when he gets to the line of scrimmage and then during the course of the play, instead of just letting that natural ability, the arm talent, the mobility, all kind of factor in, going through those reads and those progressions and hitting those throws without hesitation, that he's probably thinking too much. And I do think they put a lot on his plate. Okay, I mean, you hear all the talk about leadership with Drake Maye and how they're encouraging him to have more of a vocal voice and to be, a little bit more demonstrative, and how that's really a key part of, again, the development with Drake Maye. But also, don't turn the ball over, don't take off and run immediately, keep your eyes downfield. I think Drake made a real conscious effort to again stay within the pocket the other day and to not take off running on that throw to the sideline that he brought back, and Mac Hollins made the catch. I think Drake did a good job in not taking off and running. He rolled out to the right. Protection was good initially. The longer that play took, the more it's going to absolutely break down. Of course, with this offensive line, that should be no shock. And he kept his eyes downfield. He finds Mac Hollins. But if you look at that play too from the coach's film, he had 2 guys earlier in that route who probably were open if he threw the ball with timing. And listen, I think that right now what you're seeing from Drake Maye is a 22-year-old kid who is trying to learn a very difficult offense and has a lot in his mind each and every play, trying to, again, don't do this, don't do that. This is what the coaches are telling me. This is what I know I have to do, again, within this offense. And it's tight. So I do think that there's a little bit too also when he gets into games, which we've only seen him in 2 games, right? I mean, that's all the Patriots have played. He's played 4 series combined. And both of those games against backups and backups to backups, he struggled to throw the ball and elevate guys. And again, they're playing against backups. This is really where he should start to shine. A quarterback that I'm not a big fan of at all, in Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson, looked really good the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm not a believer in Caleb Williams. I'm not. But again,
Neither. Yeah. Neither
that's
am I.
kind of what you would hope to see from Drake Maye in preseason games against backups. Now, why I'm not worried about it? Because I think it's still very early in this process, and I do take into account his age and the difficulties of this offense that Josh McDaniels is bringing in here and the sophistication of it and how different it is from what he was running a year ago with Alex Van Pelt and basically nothing surrounding him. But I do think that, again, I understand where there are some concerns about Drake May's play to this point. But I think it's just too early to be overly concerned about his play and his up and down. And I take into account the fact that in these joint practices, which I have not seen with my own eyeballs outside of clips on social media and reading the reports from guys who were there, Drake Maye has looked good. Okay, he outperformed Jaden Daniels in the one joint practice they had against Washington. When he had time against Minnesota in their top unit in the two practices they had last week, Drake Maye was able to put the ball on the money. You saw chunk plays, accurate throws, everything that you're not seeing in these games. And he was able to do that, handle all that. As Mike Vrabel said, when it was a shitstorm, he wasn't freaking out back there. He was staying within himself, working through his progressions and making the right reads with the football. So I think that, again, there is a little bit of a side of this where is it something about when he gets in game action and the cameras are on him and he's forcing it
Mhm.
a little bit and he's a little, again, trigger shy, if you will. I'm not overly concerned about him. I'm still concerned about this offensive line, which I know people come out of Saturday saying, well, it looked really good. The protection was there. Yeah, it was against backups, just like it did. It looked against Washington for the most part. But when you go to these joint practices, 13 sacks last week. The Patriots had a practice here today where you saw the two top units, their starting defense against their starting offense. And Drake Maye again had 6 sacks. And that offensive line, I should say, had 6 sacks. That's more of my concern right now because I think that Drake has all the potential in the world, all the talent in the world, and the ability that I think he'll come along. If this was 4 weeks in, 8 weeks in, then I'd be having a different reaction to everything that's going on. But again, I think that there is cause for questions. Is he able to read defenses at the level that, again, a top 10 and 15 quarterbacks can do in this league? Is he there yet? 30 starts in college. He has 13 last year. And we know how the protections broke down and really the coaching that wasn't being given to him throughout the course of the season. Jason McCourty on the broadcast the other day was saying that Drake didn't really hear from Alex Van Pelt in his headset other than play calls last year. And Josh is doing a lot more communicating with him prior to that headset shutting off. Again, I think that it's too early to be overly concerned, but so much of this season does hinge on Mitchell Drake Maye taking that year two leap.
Yep.
Again, you look at the expectations. The Patriots are favored in 11 games this year. Last year, they were not favored in one freaking game. Their over under is set at
Mhm.
8.5. Those expectations for this team are as much to do with Drake Maye as anything else the Patriots have done, coaching included, okay, free agency included, the draft included. So I do think that a lot of this comes back to Drake Maye, and there are some questions about him, but it's a little early to be overly concerned right now. Do you think that Maye is overwhelmed at this point? And if so, who is that on more so? Drake to settle down and realize that, again, if you have all this potential and all these expectations around you and all this pressure on you, that it is on you to to work within that. And again, that is part of the job, right? Like the quarterback is going to have the most pressure on him, and when expectations are there, you're going to have that on you. When you have real good coaching, they're going to give you a lot. And in year two, you should be more able to handle that. And is that a cause for concern for you? So is it on more of Drake, or is it on now Josh at this point in time to look at what Drake is doing out there on the field in these games and say, all right, we have to do things a little bit differently. Maybe we have to dumb this down. Maybe we have to start to incorporate more of what he likes instead of working on more of the overall playbook to see, what is good for him and what is not. How much of the confidence level should be considered here when it comes to the struggles here for Drake Maye and the inconsistencies is more of what I would say.
Yeah, I think this is going to fall a lot on Josh. I think Josh needs to really be supportive. Um, Josh has struggled. He's had a lot of adversity he's had to deal with in his two coaching stints. Um, you look at the first time he went to Denver, that was a disaster. The whole situation with Jay Cutler, they didn't get along. He tells Jay Cutler, "I'm not going to get you. I'm not going to trade you, but I want to work this out." Jay Cutler's traded the next day for Kyle Orton. Um, then you look at the Raiders. You know, they make that big trade for Devontae Adams. He talks highly about Derek Carr, how he wants to support him. They play 1 year together. He gets traded to the Saints, and you see Kyle Orton and you see Derek Carr just really struggle with this system, struggle with trying to pick it up. And then Josh goes ahead. He brings Jimmy Garoppolo, someone that is familiar with the system, someone that he's had to win a couple games with in this system um, in 2016 when Jimmy Garoppolo had to start for Brady while he was suspended for 4 games. And it doesn't go well. They bring in your favorite quarterback, Brian Hoyer,
Oh
Hoyer
yeah,
the Destroyer, as they call
who
him.
you suggested on the
And you know,
radio, on our radio show the other day, that the Patriots should call him.
okay,
I
as
hope
a
that was
joke,
a joke.
as a,
Okay, I'm
it
making
was a
sure,
joke. It
Mitchell.
was a joke.
Making sure.
Okay. Side note: Brian Hoyer, probably a great guy.
Yep,
Never
not
met him.
questioning
Probably a really
that.
nice guy. Yeah, probably a great mentor in some capacity. Um, don't want him as my
No,
starting quarterback.
no.
Sorry, Brian. You could be a good backup, but
Yeah, if you don't have to play.
that's as far as that goes.
Yeah, you could
That's
be a great backup if you never have to take a snap. If your only job is holding a clipboard and bringing along teammates. Terrific.
yeah, yeah. But before Baker Mayfield, never forget he was the last quarterback to have a 3-game win streak.
Yeah,
Shout out
terrific.
Brian Hoyer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
jot that
No, I'll
down.
take
No,
that
I'm
note down.
joking. But no, it's but you know he brought in Hoyer and Garoppolo because they were familiar with the system. And he also traded for Stidham with the Patriots in that first year, and he ends up leaving to go to Denver. So Josh ends up having Aiden O'Connell, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brian Hoyer, and the hope is we could try to piece this together and figure this out as we go. And it doesn't work out. Jimmy Garoppolo, with all the injuries, I always thought he was personally soft. I didn't look at him as a leader that was going to power through stuff. He gets a little banged up. He's done. Hoyer has to step in. Then Aiden O'Connell takes over. Josh gets fired. And it's um, Antonio Pierce for the rest of the season. So he hasn't done much. He hasn't had a lot of success. So this for him, you have to think about it. If you go ahead and with the Patriots, you had all that success with Brady. Okay, was that all Tom or was that Josh? And some people from the outside looking in are going to look and say, "Well, that's all Brady. That's Brady because he had to work with him." And if it wasn't for Brady, Josh would be nothing. And right now, again, you look at Denver, you look at the Raiders, it kind of looks that way. Yeah, he had that one season with Mac, but Bill was there. For Josh, he really has to solidify himself as a guy if he ever wants to look to get another head coaching job, whether it be at the collegiate level or the NFL level. And it's going to start with building up Drake Maye, making the system more simplistic, helping him with the reads, helping him with the other tangible things, where to hold the ball. We saw in that first preseason game where he's holding it with his left hand out, where if someone just comes over and just punches it, it's a fumble, and he does fumble on that play. So Josh, it falls along on him. He's got to support Drake Maye in any which way. Don't overwhelm the kid. Take him along slowly and gradually. And I want to put blame on someone else too. Stephon Diggs, you got a lot of credit last year for helping CJ Stroud and helping that wide receiver room. You should be doing the same thing with Drake Maye. You should be helping him. He got a lot of credit for Josh Allen taking that leap. If he does this again and helps with that leap and is able to keep quiet, then people are going to look at Buffalo and say, well, in Houston, he wasn't that
So
bad. Yeah, Minnesota got kind of bad, but if he does great here, people are going to look at
So
Buffalo a
I,
little
and I'm
weird.
interested to see again once he has Diggs out on the field, how different does it look? I think right now, what's concerning, at least a little bit for me, is he feels like he's feeling at least overwhelmed. Now, is that to do with the pressure? And when I mean pressure, not just outside expectations, which can be accounted for too. It's also what the coaching staff is asking him to do, what he knows he has to be as a quarterback, for this team to be successful this season. Again, last year there were no expectations on Drake Maye. This year, all of a sudden, the Patriots are back to 8.5 wins over under, favored in 11 games. Mike Vrabel, the guy who's going to right the whole ship, the experienced coaching staff, improvements across the board, although I think that's been overplayed a little bit, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But what is a little bit jarring, if you will, and again, I'm a believer in May. I think he's going to work all this out. So I'm
I think so too.
explaining all angles. But what is a little bit jarring is the fact that again, he gets in these preseason games and that first series, again against backups,
Yep.
he looks like a different guy. Now he settled down the other day and he improved on his second drive as he did against Washington. But he's afraid to make mistakes right now in preseason
Yeah.
games, which is when you should be willing to try to fit the ball in those windows, when you should be working on stuff like manipulating defensive backs with your eyes and putting it again on guys. And again, getting a feel for what works and what doesn't work, which we hear all the time. Well, you can't overrate the passing numbers in camp because you don't know what they're working on, which I think is true, by the
Hmm.
way. But then you go to
Yes.
games, and shouldn't it be the same thing? So again, I wonder what the messaging is behind the scenes, but if that's part of the nerves for Drake May, what is he going to look like in a one-score game in the
Yes.
regular season when it actually matters and he has to march his team downfield? What does it look like when he
Hmm.
has to get out there and elevate an offense that, again, against other first units, has looked completely lost, mainly because of the offensive line, which is still my number one overall concern, which I feel like after each one of these preseason games, to a lesser degree this week, kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit. We talk a lot about Drake May. We talk a lot about the turnovers or, the ball placement, the accuracy, his progressions, pulling the trigger, all this stuff, which I do think is, again, with the quarterback position, that is going to be the emphasis of most people. That is going to be what people are talking about.
Hmm.
But with that offensive line looking like that, that's my number one overall concern. Who do you have more concerns about
Yes.
talent wise at this level? Drake May, who I'm not telling you have all the answers and it's a known commodity, or an offensive line that, again, doesn't have a left guard right now that they're sure about? Is it Jared Wilson? Is it Ben Brown? They don't know what they have in Will Campbell. Anytime they go up against
Hmm.
a starting unit on either another team or even their own as of today, they're giving up 6 sacks a day. It's like their favorite number. So then I feel like there's more pressure on that offensive line, which is why I think the depth sucks. Mitchell, if anybody gets hurt in this offense, the Patriots have real issues. But this really comes back to Drake May in year two, making that leap and being able to elevate. The protection's not always going to be there, but that doesn't mean the turnover numbers can stay the same or go up. Because I think, you had what? 12 wins, and I realized that was our way too early predictions. I had 10. Now, that was before we saw anything take place in practice, okay? Before we saw any of the rookie class, any of even the free agents, any of Drake May. So I'm not holding either one of us to those predictions. But let's even say 8 wins, 9 wins, contending for a playoff spot. That does not happen if Drake May is not making the year two jump that people expect him to make. That does not happen if Drake May is not able to elevate a mediocre offense in year two. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So again, then you have to look at expectations. So not time to panic by any means, but the future does hinge on him. And I think this running game is going to be absolutely critical to the first 4 weeks of this season. You better be able to run the ball effectively. You better be able to have that ground and pound. You better be able, as a defense, to hold teams, in the low 20s, if not in the teens, because this passing attack is
Hmm.
going to struggle. It is going to struggle.
Yep.
And that is even with the coaching staff being able to cover up, hopefully, some of the deficiencies on that offensive line. That is even including the fact that Stephon Diggs has not been on the field in any of these two preseason games that Drake Maye has been out there. So you don't have what is the Patriots right now number one option. Not to say that I believe Stephon Diggs is a number one option at this point, but that's what the Patriots have.
Yeah, I mean, like you noted with the practices, I mean, everything that you hear about the offensive line, it's just Will Campbell's getting killed. One day he lets up 5 sacks, the other day he lets up 6, and
Well, not him. That's
he
just
has
as a
that. Oh, sorry,
unit, but
yeah, as a unit. But
he's had plenty of issues himself.
yeah, my bad. But still, I go back to that quote that he had, and he's been exuding confidence, if you will, where he's been going ahead and saying all the right things to the media, saying, I'm willing to die for Drake Maye as my quarterback. He says that. He says, "Oh, we have a saying in the O line room: if you can get a sack a game, you're going to go ahead and get a max contract. If you're like offensive lineman, you let up a sack a game, you're going to go work at Amazon." He says all the right things, but now and we heard about the arms, the T-Rex arms. They're too small to block, too small to block. He's going to be starring with Chris Pratt in the next movie. We've heard all the jokes, and now it's just like now he has to shut people up. He has to prove like, yes, I do belong in this league. I have shorter arms than other left tackles, but I'm gonna block your favorite defensive end or edge rusher into the ground. I'm gonna protect Drake Maye. Now is the time to prove that. So far, he's looked okay. He hasn't looked great, and he hasn't looked bad.
But he
But
hasn't
I
looked
think about a
confident
time
either.
when,
And I'll say
yeah,
that he
well,
hasn't looked confident in the arm strength and being able to just flick it is one of his strengths, right? And again,
mhm,
he's looked slow to do that, which to me is more mental than anything. Like, I mean,
mhm.
because I think he is so aware of, I can't turn the ball over here. What does this coaching staff want me to do? And as much as I want to put that on Josh, and I think it is to a certain degree, that's on Drake. Like, this is the most pressure
Yep.
filled position in all of sports is quarterback, right? You have the most on your
Mhm.
plate. You are the coach on the field. You are the face of the franchise. Most years, if you're a playoff team or if you're a Super Bowl team, and the Patriots are nowhere near there, it's because of quarterback play. Now, there are other elements that are also extremely important. I'm not downplaying that. But it usually starts with the quarterback. So this is something that, again, you don't get answers about this in year one with Drake Maye in a large part because the team was so bad. Well, now you come in with different expectations, a different role, and different pressure, more pressure, better coaching, but with better coaching, a little bit more of a difficult system, if you will, which is the argument against Josh. Now, I think that Josh is a good coordinator. He's not a good head coach. I think he schemes things
Yep.
up well. I think he will find ways to get, again, those safety valves for Drake, those safe and easy throws for Drake, whether it be out of the backfield with Travion Henderson, which I think is going to be extremely important. And he's earned his weight so far as a second round draft pick and maybe more as a real playmaker for this team. I think right now, as it stands, he's the best back this team has. Again, it's going to be the
Yep.
workload for him. How many snaps, how many touches do you want to get him a game? But I think with him in that backfield, Antonio Gibson, what he offers, and then Ramondre Stevenson, you're going to have a healthy running game and healthy amount of pass catching options out of the backfield. Incorporate now Hunter Henry, who was really his safety blanket last year. Demario Douglas, who should, as a slot receiver, be taking on a larger role this year. And from everything you've heard in camp, Demario Douglas has looked pretty good. Efton Chisholm, can he make this team as the six wide receiver? I think on Saturday he made this team just
Yeah, he
with
solidified his
with
spot.
again continuing to make the most of his opportunities. 7 catches, right, like 71 yards. He had the touchdown. His route running ability, finding the soft spots. in open coverages in the field. His hands and just the ability to catch the football and make a play is huge. They have pieces again that would work themselves to a Josh McDaniels offense. And I think that Drake Maye will come along as the season goes. You get more confident the more that you do anything. Mitchell, do you think there would be any benefit to playing Drake Maye in the third and final preseason game?
Yeah, I say just play him one more time, and just I would make a point to air it out. If I'm Josh, I talked to him this week, and I would say, "Hey, real quick, Drake, what we're gonna do this week is we're going to go ahead and we're going to run these plays. I want you to air it out. I want you to, really get into a rhythm of throwing this ball. We're going to run. If it's third and short, we'll run it. But if it's second and long, if it's third and long, we're throwing the ball 100%. And I want you to just gun it, make a read, and have at it, kid. Have some fun in this last game. The real test is going to be the following week. That's
So,
what I would do personally. Again,
so,
just get him comfortable.
so I can't believe I'm about to say this. I would play Drake Maye for 2 series on Thursday night
Yep.
in
I was
New
going to say
York.
two as well.
Now,
Yep.
I wouldn't advise Josh McDaniels to go air it out. What I would do, I'd talk to Drake. I'd see exactly what he's comfortable with. I would have those plays scripted, just like a regular season game,
Mhm.
and I'd get him in a rhythm
Yep.
where he starts to feel a little bit like himself. He feels that confidence. He feels comfortable. They get a few throws in there. They don't need to, drop back, you know, 9, 10 times, anything like that. Just kind of build that confidence up because again, he's 22 years old, and it doesn't feel like that's what's there. So I would work on whatever it is that Drake Maye feels best about right now within the offense. Get him to do
Yeah.
those things, and because you don't want to get him hurt in a third and final preseason game. You know that you're going to be playing
Agreed.
against backups with the Giants. I mean, hell, the Patriots haven't played any starters in either one of their games. So again, it is about health. That's the most important thing. Even more than his confidence right now is his health. But just some quick, easy, small stuff that he's comfortable
Mhm.
with to build off of something before, week one against Vegas when you have Max Crosby and all the starters out there in a game at home. That again, there's going to be hype around that. And if he's been nervous prior to, that's not going to completely go away no matter what. But
Mhm.
just to build on something, just a little bit in another team, matching up against guys you don't see all the time. You don't see every day in practice. You're not going to see for 17 days prior to, the start of the season and first, regulation games that matter.
Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to say too about Will Campbell, two guys I think of who were really high picks for offensive line, and these were some of the guys that personally, when I saw them first play, I knew that they were going to be a problem. Um, Jake Long and Joe Thomas, and they were some of the best. I mean, Jake Long, once he left Miami, he
So
was
can I
never
give
the
you a
same.
second guess?
But
We've talked a lot
yep,
about the left tackle position, right? Because Will Campbell, the
yep,
fourth overall draft pick. It seems like
yep.
not seems, he is your left tackle. They have not moved him at all. If that was the plan, because there weren't other names out there in free agency who were attractive as left tackles to pay all that money to, that the Patriots felt good about, and they felt better about going in this direction with Will Campbell and Morgan Moses on the other side. Why didn't they go
Mhm.
after a Joe Tooney who was just traded? Who
Uh,
also got
It's a
a
good,
new contract, right? Because they don't have a left guard right now. Would you feel better about Will Campbell at left tackle if you had Joe Tooney as your left guard to kind of
100%.
help him work his way through that? A guy that, again, also showed versatility last year for Kansas City. Is he a true left tackle? No, not at all. But he was able to slide over there when he needed. So that would have given you better depth. Who do you feel better about, Joe Tooney or Vidarian Lowe or Demontre Jacobs as your backup left tackle? I'd tell you right now, I feel better about Joe Tooney for a couple of weeks at least. But I'd also feel a lot better about all pro left guard Joe Tooney next to Will Campbell and opposite Garrett Bradbury Or then maybe you could have played Jared Wilson at center. So I think they also kind of messed up not just the left tackle position in free agency, but just the offensive line as a whole in free agency.
Hmm. Yep.
And left guard. I mean, did they have to move on from Dave Andrews? Like, I know he retired, but did he retire because he really couldn't play, or did he retire because he didn't want to play somewhere else other than New England? And why did they move on from him when they did if what they were going to bring in was Garrett Bradbury, who was released from Minnesota and wasn't very good last year? I think that there are questionable decisions across that offensive line from an organizational standpoint as a whole. And we'll see how much, again, is that really what's holding Drake Maye back right now? No, that's not what I've seen in these preseason games. But you do have to wonder if some of that is because of what he's seen in these practices, how he's feeling behind that offensive line, and what's going to happen when these games actually truly matter and you're playing against starters and that offensive line is still having issues, you know, blocking it up front. So we'll see. Mitchell, any other thoughts here on Drake Maye, the passing attack, the offense, offensive line? Anything else you want to throw in here or get to?
I mean, this offensive line, you know, I sent you something earlier on the official app for the Patriots where they have a depth chart with Cole Strange starting.
Well,
I
nothing
wonder
that
if
we've
that's
seen,
legit.
though.
If
Yeah,
that's
nothing that we've seen would lead us to believe that. When Jared Wilson,
yeah, and anything that's reported.
yeah, when Jared Wilson's been nicked up and or had poor play,
It's been Brent Brown.
Ben Brown has been that guy, who, by the way, is the direction that I would go. I know he primarily played center last year, but that wasn't his natural position. So I do think that I would give Ben Brown an opportunity there. Cole Strange hasn't proved diddly squat since being drafted by
Yeah,
Bill Belichick and that staff of Bobos and Matt
yeah,
Patricia, who I believe had his hand in that too. Because that was a year he
I
was
agree.
also working
I
with that
agree.
offensive line. So how much input again? Bill, who had a smaller circle than a dot, and Matt Patricia, who was in that, and also working with that offensive line, how much input did he have in scouting and drafting Cole Strange?
Hmm. Yeah,
So I wouldn't put
yeah.
Cole
Well,
Strange on that starting line. Sorry, nope.
yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if they roll out with him out there as the guy, then we have to go. Oh boy, it's legit. But if not, then Ben Brown. I agree with you. Last year he looked solid at the center spot. He Owena was your best player on the O line last year, and
Which is not saying much because it was a down year for him.
yeah, but David Andrews when he played, I thought he was the best, but he only played like 3 games, 4 games, something like that.
Yeah, he
He didn't.
got injured early.
Yeah, he didn't play much, and after that, they were trying to figure out. They put Cole Strange there. They put Ben Brown there, and Ben Brown, to me, I thought was the best player um, besides Michael Owenu on that offensive line. And again, that's not saying much, but you know, if he's your best guy, if he gives you the best chance to win, you go with it. And I just searched it up; it was 4 games that he played before being injured.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's if he gives you the best chance to win, you go with him. If not, go with who does give you the best chance. But I don't think it is Cole Strange.
All right. Well, that's us. That's our breakdown right now for Drake Maye. There's going to be plenty more to come, Mitchell, because the pressure is only going to mount on Drake Maye once the regular season
Hmm.
starts. So you have to hope that it's not in between the ears for Drake Maye, and it's just a matter of getting comfortable and getting to a normal game week where they are scheming things up and working again with the strengths of the quarterback and having a fully healthy team out there where you're now starting to open things up and you're not afraid to show things because it's not the preseason anymore. It's not the off season anymore. It's not camp, and you don't want to put anything on film. Then we're at a different point. But we'll see with Drake Maye. It's going to be something to monitor and watch all year long. I am still a believer in Drake Maye. Okay, so I don't want anyone to take any of our discussion here any other way. I am still a believer in Drake Maye. But that does not mean that you can't bring up these very real minor question marks about Drake Maye. He is not a known commodity. He is not a sacred horse. Yes, he was the third overall pick. Yes, he has athletic ability oozing out of his ears. Yes, everything that we've heard from Drake Maye and a lot of what we've seen from Drake Maye is encouraging. But that doesn't mean that it's going to elevate to that next level, which is where, again,
Mhm.
everybody has basically talked themselves into no, it's already happened. This is not Jaden Daniels of a year ago, where you know starting week one what you have in Jaden Daniels, who showed it last season. Drake Maye is still very much a work in progress and a young one at that. So give him time, but don't just crown him the franchise guy because of where he was taken and the flashes that he's shown, because there are still questions about him. So we'll end it on that. We untapped Drake Maye for now, Mitchell. So we'll end it with that.
Mhm.
More sports untapped coming here very soon. We'll be dropping a few different videos here in the coming days. But with this program, with all of them, we'd appreciate you engaging with the program. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon that notifies you when that new content drops. Leave a comment. Tell us what you like, you don't like, what you want to hear. Any feedback is appreciated. That's enough of us for now. Yeah, we'll say it that way, Mitchell. That's enough of us for now. We'll talk to you soon.